Astro. It's like Instagram for space nerds. Well, good evening. Welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you for joining us so late on a Sunday evening, if that's the time where you are. Here in Spain, it's after 1 a.m. And we just had to come and bring you tonight's test flight of the Starship, test flight 10. And we've all got our fingers and legs and everything else crossed that we possibly can, hoping that this time SpaceX do not have another disaster and they have a successful flight. I'm joined this evening by Daz and Roger. Evening, guys.
Hi.
Good evening.
So can I just get your thoughts before we go any further? What do you think? Are we going to see a successful flight or not this evening?
You go first, Rod.
Well, things ought to go right this time, but, you know, space is hard. We'll see just how near the perfect mission this is potentially going to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Daz, what about you?
Well, as I said earlier on, I don't really hold out much hope. It's I think it's a case that I've got excited so many times just recently, and then to be disappointed, because as I was talking to you earlier on, that we seem to get to a stage where we were seeing catches and the Starship also splashing down perfectly, and then we seem to take a huge step backwards, and since then we've struggled to have a successful flight. I mean, I hope I am seriously wrong, because this really needs to be this is an important flight, very important. It's more important than the last one, because every time you have a failure, it's pushing you backwards. And considering how the Starship is supposed to be used for the first moon landings with Artemis. It really does need to be able to start to take the next steps forward. We should really be now sort of like looking at the refueling in space and things like that, for this to actually carry on. But I'm hoping, I'm praying, like you, I've got everything crossed that everything does work. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're disappointed again. I mean, there's lots and lots of changes again. And as I said to you, I think there's probably a couple more after this of this configuration, and then Starship's changing again.
So it was the move to the Block 2 Starships when they started to get the problems.
That's right, yeah.
And Lee is asking, are they catching the booster or ship? Not this time, Lee. The reason for the plan was always for the Starship to splash down in the Indian Ocean as always. The reason they're not catching the booster this time is that they want to do some experiments to simulate the loss of a Raptor upon descent. And what they're going to do, they're going to switch off, I think, 2 Raptors actually, and simulating something going wrong on descent, and then try and light another one to replace them, so that, you know, if the booster was ever descending and it did lose a couple of Raptors, they want to see what would happen. Could they actually restart a different Raptor to compensate for the this is during the landing burn, by the way. Can they restart another Raptor to compensate for the ones that have failed? And for that reason, they're not going to try and catch it, because they're not quite sure what's going to happen. So the safest thing to do is for it to land in the Gulf of Mexico, off the coast of Boca Chica.
That's the booster. Am I imagining things, or is actually the Starship splashing down off the coast of Australia, or am I wrong?
Well, it's in the Indian Ocean. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah. So, because last time when they brought in the booster, they put it on a very high attack angle coming down, which was, I think, about 17 degrees. and that's what they think actually caused the problems. It stressed certain components. I think it was one of the down things, or something to do with the fuel lines.
They reckon the downcomer got crushed again.
And that's
okay. Well,
why.
listen. What we're going to do? What I'd like to do, viewers, is to just talk you through what you can expect this evening on a timeline. So we're just going to ditch the live coverage for the moment. We'll be back soon with that, and I'm just going to show you. Just let me set this up. I'm just going to show you the timeline for this evening, so you know what to expect when. So this is the timeline for this evening. So we start at obviously 0.0. The launch at 1 minute and 2 seconds. The max Q when the vehicle experiences the greatest aerodynamic pressure, the most dangerous point of the ascent. At 2:36, main engine cutoff of the first stage. 2:38, stage separation. 2:48, the booster begins its boost back burn to return towards the launch site. 3:38, the boost back burn ends and the hot stage is jettisoned. At 6:20, the booster initiates the landing burn, and at 6:40, hopefully the booster will successfully land in the Gulf of Mexico, as we said. Moving on to the Starship operations. At 8:57, we have the second stage engine cutoff, and that's when the Starship reaches its initial orbit. At 18:27, this is where they're going to try deploying 8 Starlink simulators to simulate deploying Starlinks in space, which is what they really want to do, especially the version 2 Starlinks, which are much bigger and heavier than the first generation. And they couldn't do this last time because the onboard software on the Starship had detected fuel pressure building up in the header tanks in the nose of the Starship, which we know led to the demise of the mission. And the software decided it wasn't going to go through the deployment sequence of the Starlink simulators satellites. It was going to skip that because it was in trouble. So it wasn't because they couldn't open the payload door. It was simply the software said, no, not going to do this. We're in trouble. Then at 25:32, that should complete the deployment of the 8 simulated Starlink satellites should terminate, and that will be hopefully the first successful deployment of a payload from Starship. Then at 37:48, the Raptor engines reignite for a second burn. This is a critical demonstration of restarting a Raptor in space, and this is a very important test because they need to be able to do that for real missions, if you like. Then at 47:29, the descent starts. The heat shield is a little bit different this time, but we'll talk about that in a second. So this is when temperatures can go up to 1,500 degrees Celsius during re-entry. At 1:03:15, the transonic descent, that's passing through the sound barrier during the controlled descent. At 1:04:30, it deaccelerates and slows to subsonic velocity, preparing for the final landing. At 1:06, it performs its famous belly flop maneuver, which actually is people said that would never work initially, but it's never failed actually on a mission. They've got that off to a fine art. So that's when the Starship flips from horizontal flight to vertical flight. And then the landing burn starts at 1:06:20, and the Raptor engines, the sea level Raptor engines, ignite for a controlled descent. So finally, the controlled splashdown we're expecting at 1:06:30, 1 hour, 6 minutes and 30 seconds after launch. We will be around for all of it if the mission gets that far, of course. So we don't know what's going to happen.
Am I reading that right, Andy? On your thing, it says, I mean, this is the Starship we're talking about here.
Yeah, no, that is an error. It does say Gulf of Mexico, but it is actually splashing down in the Indian Ocean, as it has done on previous flights.
All right.
Let's have a look at what they've done to fix the problems with the previous flights. There's a lovely graphic from Vikrant Jonna, so thank you very much for that. So the COPVs, these pressure vessels which store liquid nitrogen, nitrogen gas at high pressure. One of these exploded, as you may know, during the static fire of ship 36, destroying the whole vehicle, because apparently it had been roughly manhandled before the flight. And these things are quite sensitive, but they've actually improved the design of the COPVs, and also they're going to operate them at lower pressure, so the risk of an explosion will be much less. The fuel diffuser has been redesigned and tested rigorously. And if you remember during the previous flight, if you remember, do you remember guys looking in the payload bay and there was all that looked like snow floating about?
Yeah.
That was due to the fact the diffuser had failed. This is the thing that effectively filters the fuel and stops it building up in lumps. And they've completely redesigned that and tested it. It's got new catch points on the ship for catching with the chopsticks. These are much bigger and much stronger, but we won't be seeing those in action today, obviously. They've got new heat shield tiles. So they're doing a test on a couple of areas on the hull of the Starship with new metallic heat shield tiles. And if they work, they may well replace the ceramic tiles, which have given a few problems, i.e. falling off a lot. They've got new metallic heat shield tiles on specific areas that they want to test. In fact, if Starship manages to splash down okay in the Indian Ocean, this will be the first real complete test of the current heat shield, which they would have had data the last two missions, but of course they both exploded. And then there is there's the Raptor burn. They've done some work on the Raptors. Hopefully it will enable them to start up this Raptor in orbit, which is a crucial test on the second burn. As far as the booster goes, well, we said earlier that it's coming in at a much shallower angle of attack this time. The last flight, the booster, as you may remember, exploded, but they were not surprised because they were pushing it into a much steeper angle of attack than it would normally experience, just basically to see how much it could stand. And now they know the answer. So they'll be coming in at a much shallower angle for final approach. And this is hopefully going to make sure that the booster doesn't blow up again. And that's about it, really, I think. So,
Andy, looks like it's scrubbed.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Just looked on NASA spaceflight, and it says it's scrubbed. Does it say it on your link?
Just give me 1 minute. I'll just reload it. It says it's on hold.
NASA spaceflight, we've got scrub up, so we'll just wait for a little while and then see what happens.
Let me just put this back on the screen then. And
let me just see if I can.
It says it's a hold, so I mean this is to be expected, really.
Let me just check what they're saying. Oh.
I don't see any venting.
No. Well, the only vents at the bottom.
Well, if the flight has been scrapped, it will soon start to vent from both the booster and the Starship. So let's wait and see what happens.
Let me just do my mic, and then I'll see if I can listen to.
Let me put the volume up, and we can hear.
We still do have a few, and I want you guys to get your answer. So if you've done a super chat question, and you haven't gotten an answer yet, stay for another 10 minutes or so. I want to try to answer as many as I can. Personal stash, I am very, very sorry. I don't know what's a Henway. I cannot answer this. Chris Tuttle, thank you so much for the generous donation. Question, when will the new launch structure pad be first?
Right. Right. It looks like things are still pretty much going ahead there. That's interesting. I wonder whether anybody can confirm whether it's a go or not.
Well, it looks like on Everyday Astronaut it's scrubbed as well.
Really? Okay. We'll just wait up just till we get some official confirmation. Can somebody check Twitter to see if SpaceX has announced anything?
Yeah, because I think they were really concerned about the weather.
Right.
So they thought it was going to clear, but I'm just trying to catch up with them now.
Yes, standing down it says.
Any reason?
Time to troubleshoot an issue with ground systems.
Oh, right. Okay, then.
Great. Well, that's that basically kills it then, doesn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay then. Well, sorry, viewers.
Ooh.
Circumstances obviously completely beyond our control. We cannot bring you this evening's test flight of Starship because it ain't happening, basically. So we assume they will try again tomorrow. Please keep an eye on the channel. We will create the live stream as soon as we know when it's happening exactly, when there's further information. But for now, I'm afraid, thank you so much for being here. But it's off, basically. But we do appreciate you spending your time with us this evening. Much appreciated. As I said, keep your eye on the channel and turn the notifications on. Make sure you're subscribed and turn the notifications on so you get to know when we are going live. But in any event, keep your eye on the channel. And we hope to be back with you very soon. And it's really disappointing when these things happen. But if they've got an issue with the ground equipment, there's not much that can be said. So
don't forget we're live tomorrow.
Yep, hopefully we'll be live tomorrow. It's not normally always the same time, but it may vary. So thank you so much for being here, guys. We do appreciate it. So from all of us at Space Oddities, we will wish you a very good evening, and thanks again for being here.
Sorry.
Bye.
Take care.